Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It's June 4th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And real quickly, I just wanted to make another comment about uh, if you purchased a manual, if you purchase one going forward, or if you purchased one any time in the past, you can sign up for a free 30-day trial of our forum. Give you 30 days free, and that way you can ask any questions while you're learning, that kind of thing. You get free for 30 days. And if you like it, you want to stay in there after that, it's $10 a month. And again, I'm going to say this again. I don't charge because I'm making any money off $10 a head a month. Not many, we don't have many that, most of the people that are in the forum actually pay for the premium membership, and they get all the video lessons and the daily mid-morning chart and that kind of stuff. And the forum's just kind of comes along as a freebie. So it's not like I'm making any money off of it. The reason I charge is because I don't want it to be open where just anybody can come in there and stir up trouble and cause problems and argue with you and all that. Uh, they could still do that, but it's going to cost them $10 a month to do that, and that usually keeps the troublemakers away and people just wanting to kick tires or stir up trouble. They don't want to spend any money to do it. They just want to harass people for free. So that's the reason I charge for it. Um, no other reason than that. So just to keep it private, keep the troublemakers out, that kind of thing. So anyway, if you've purchased a manual in the past, or if you buy one going forward, take advantage of your free 30 days in the forum. And again, if you like it, you can sign up for it. So at the end of your 30-day trial. And if you want, if you've never been a member, a premium member, those video lessons really help if you're struggling with anything or there's things you don't understand. The video lessons really do help. So it doesn't hurt to try to go in there and join the premium membership and watch all the premium video lessons, because it's uh, definitely a big help to not only be able to read it but to see it, see it visually as well. So anyway, let's get to the chart lesson. You can see there's still about an hour to go in today's trading, and it looks like we're still trading near the bottom of the range. I mean, it's a real tight range, and you can see that by that tiny bar there. It's almost a ridiculous day. It's just nothing much happening at all. So very little movement, just up and down within the range. So it's definitely a range day, and you can see that by that bar right there. Um, we got an hour or so, and I think we're trading near the bottom of the range, if I remember correctly last time I looked at the chart. So we could touch bottom and head back to the highs before it's over, or we may close right in the middle. I don't know what, you never know, but basically enough of the days gone by, you can tell this is just a range day, very low volume range day. So if we flip over to the 2000 tick chart, you're going to see the same thing. So the bars actually match today. But let's flip over there and take a look at it. We'll go through the trades and we'll wrap this day up. Okay, you can see it here. There was no news today of any type to really set the market off, so that's another reason it's probably not much happening. But you can see we're close to the lows, and will we continue lower or close down here or bounce before 4 o'clock? Um, I'm not sure, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really, unless this thing just really sold off suddenly. This is a range day, and even if it does sell off real quickly, 90%, 95% of the day was a range day. So we're going to go with that. We're going to go through the trades, and you can just see the highs up here, basically just slightly above the overnight highs, it turns out. And you might even move this later in the day to there. You don't get as many touches there. I really liked it better down here where you get more touches. To me, that's the best spot because you get touches, more touches there. You do get a few pushes outside, but that's not uncommon either. So early on, we kind of had an upward bias to it because we kept trying to go higher, and we made higher lows here, but we finally made a lower low after making a higher high here. So, it's just a range day, bottom line. But let's zoom in here. we'll go through the trades and we'll get this day behind us. But 7 o'clock came, I believe it was this bar, or maybe it was this bar. Yep, 7 o'clock came right in here as we're working up on this bar. Okay, I'm sorry, I had a slight interruption there, and I don't remember exactly where I left off here. I believe we were just talking about 7 o'clock coming right in here. Unfortunately, that signal bar, there's a triple test there with that signal bar with all that stem. You just can't go short right into that, so no trade there. We came down here, we bounced. You got some rejection out of here, but it's just a double bottom. I mean, there was some support down here the previous day, but I would wait and see if you get a higher low or a triple test, and you get both of those right here. And it's also, actually before that, you get a second entry short, which I think you can, the reason that one's green is because we've already gone from the highs to the lows. And so for that reason, I think you need, there's a chance you may not come back down here again, but it is a nice second entry with a nice signal bar, and we just got a break of that down channel. So there's a good chance it'll come back down here and test this again. So maybe you go short there, maybe you don't. I marked it green. There's arguments for it both ways. I don't think it's a sure thing, so for that reason I marked it green. But then you get a triple test here and bounce, and you get instant rejection. I like going long there. Notice it's also a first entry, second entry, but it's a triple test playing right off the support of the range. Perfect setup. That's what you want. Go long right there, and you can see this one just kind of takes off. But yeah, that one takes off. Turns out to be a nice move. These are all just first entries on the way up, and then we get up here and you get a close outside, a couple of swings to a new high. And so I like going short there. It is green because you're better off to wait on the lower high just to be sure. The problem here sometimes is timing. You know it's probably going to turn down, but you don't know for sure until you get that lower high almost. And so this is the safer, more sure thing. But sometimes you don't get a lower high, so sometimes if you might want to be a little aggressive if you think there's a good chance it's going lower. And so I'd mark that one green, and we got a nice red entry here that's pretty much, I'd take that every time. Then notice how we push all the way down through the EMA. We make a lower low than the last few swings. We come back, make a lower high. There's no signal bar there, and then we get another second entry short with another lower high. And there's actually, these are 2-bar matching highs, I believe they are. Yep. So if for some reason you didn't enter here, you could enter here, but of course you get a better entry here, so I don't know why you wouldn't enter here. But if you didn't, there's no reason you couldn't enter on a break below this one. We're probably going lower here. And then we come back, we make another lower high, and it turns out we end up with some support here, and we have a little sideways range. But you can see each time we come back, we're making a little lower high, and that's the reason I made this one green. It's a little congested there, but we made a lower low and a lower high here, so that makes this one a little more suspect, even though the support's holding. So I think you have to make that one green. I still like the trade, but there's a chance it could fail, so I made it green. And then you can see what happens. It does. You would have got your scalp, but then the bottom falls out of it. And even though this would count by the counts, that's a second entry. I think this is more sideways, and that's a little failed breakout. I still like to go short there on just a failed breakout. Big bearish bar, reversal bar. It's a pullback to test this breakout. It's basically what that is. And this is still a move back. It's not 3 bars, so it doesn't really qualify as a trend. So for that reason, even though that's a second entry, I don't really like counting that as a second entry. I just like playing that as a failed breakout. And of course, we run all the way back down to the other side. I don't see any other entries there. We don't get a signal bar down here that you can enter on. We run up. We get a close outside. First entry. We pull back another first entry, and we get a second entry here. So I like that one. That signal bar is close, but I think it closes in the upper 1/3. I think that's close enough on the second entry. We should have gone further down here if this was reversing, and the fact that it's continuing to bounce off, I like going long there. We're probably going to go back to the highs, and that's exactly what happens there. But prices work their way on down to the bottom. We bounce down here. No setup bar, working higher. I think we'd already talked about this trade. I'm sorry, I had another interruption. I just can't seem to get through this chart lesson today without interruptions. I apologize. It's late compared to, I was telling you I was going to come in at 2:30 or 3 and get it done every day, and here it is. It's almost 6, and I don't have this thing done yet. And that's what I'm trying to get away from. But anyway, I'm sorry. Let's get back to it so I can get done. But second entry long here, that runs up to the top. That's where we left off, I'm pretty sure. Technically, if it had broke lower there, you could have gone short here, but it doesn't. And then your next signal bar is too bullish as well. This is just an inside bar, so I don't like entering there. We're working down, close outside, move to a new low. I do like going long here. I think you can almost argue there's a triple test there, but you do get a break and a new low, and it bounces right off the midline and turns higher again. So I like going long. There is a second entry here. You can't wait till this bar closes. You might enter that on the engulfing bar, and that's never a good idea. Most of you should just stay away from engulfing bars. So I think you got to skip that, and we actually work our way all the way back to the top again. But prices run back up. Yeah, you have to skip that one. Prices run back up, and we turn down. You get a break and a new high here. No signal bar. You get another new high here. No signal bar. Then we're just kind of working down. Then you get two legs back here. At the time that that this triggered right here, you did not have, it didn't really look like a range. Well, actually it did, but I had this a little higher here, and it just looks like congestion and sideways. You don't really have the trend line confirmed, so I don't know that you want to go short right there. If you do, you get burned. If you did go short right there and then you end up with this inside bar, it's probably not a good sign. You may want to exit before you get stopped out and take a big loss, which is what would have happened to you there. Because I know a lot of people are going to say, hey, there's a second entry there. It does get a break. It does get a new high. But you really, at this point, I don't have it on here, but let me back up just a little bit here. You've got a shorter term channel inside here, and you do get a break here and a new high, so you would still think you want to go low. I don't think it really changes anything, but it's just something to think about. It actually might be a little steeper than that because you may play it from here, and then in that case, and this may be the more correct, this actually may be the correct way to draw this. Because in this case, you get the break in the new low, and then that makes this more suspect to take this trade. And that probably would have kept you out of it because you've already had your break in new low, and we've been bouncing down here already several times. You could just draw this support on across here. There may still be room to scalp out, but let's just see. Yeah, you'd still have your 1.5 points, so it'd still be very tempting to enter there. And if you did, you would have got burned. So the big thing is you would have had your break, and you wouldn't know. You don't really have this channel because you might say, okay, well, you got two touches here, but your last high was here, so I just don't think you can say this is just the first touch, and it wouldn't have got confirmed till here, and it's already breaking the trend line. And so that's the only thing I can tell you. This just looks sideways. It doesn't look like we're getting rejection here, because on this break higher here, we should have gone higher if you were getting rejection. So you're not getting rejection, and you're just kind of working sideways. So, I mean, it could come back and test this again, but as you can see, it may not before it goes higher. And so you really could get tripped up right there. So if you did, I mean, anybody could get tripped up on that. Um, I really think you have to see this shorter term with the break and new low. And then even then, sometimes you get two legs, but you already had another leg here that didn't go. And that's your telltale sign that, there's strong support here. There's a good chance we could be going higher. It just doesn't really look like rejection either when this comes back. So that could still throw you off. It looks like we're going to be working sideways, but you end up getting a break higher first and then a break lower before you get back in the range and finally turn down. So this one's a little complicated, and you could have gotten caught there. I do think maybe you could go short here, and once this didn't go anywhere on the failed breakout, um, and all you're doing is you're just playing the failed breakout of this channel here. And it's not ideal because I mean I think the signal bar qualifies, but you'd rather see it close inside or wait on a lower high, and you don't get either one of those. Comes back here, two legs up, turns down. There's not much room to scalp out there. I think the signal bar would probably be okay. You're just too close to the lows, and you don't know if it's going to bounce there or continue lower. Now we did just clear it out, so there's a possibility it could go lower, but again, it's just not a sure thing, and we only want to take sure things. And you can see there, if you took that, it works. It gets just enough, so maybe you take it anyway. If there's enough room to get out here, which there's not, that was the reason I really didn't like it. But it ends up moving at least 6 ticks, which is what you need to scalp out with 4 ticks on a sell stop. But another thing too, I did not draw the channel here which you draw, and that's the first break, and then you run to a new high, and then you turn down. So, and again, I'm not crazy about the signal bar. Maybe you go short there. I marked it green. We do close back inside this time, and it does turn out to be a pretty nice move down. I don't see any other entries there. Bounces. 2 legs back to a higher low. I like going long there on the second entry long. You got to wait for this bar to close, but I like that because we've had the break. We have this channel working up, and we have 2 legs back, so we're probably going to at least attempt a new high there, or retest of that high, even if we don't turn up here. And it ends up working sideways and then turn it, and you get that second entry long right there. Actually, the second entry here was here, and then this is a higher low after the second entry long. I didn't like it as much because it's starting to look congested, and you would think on that second entry it might have taken off, but it doesn't. So I'm not as crazy about this entry, but I still think you could take that one. It's a little more. It's a little riskier than. I mean, if it wasn't working sideways, and your resistance was a little bit higher than what we're seeing here, I would say I might make it blue, but the way it sits there, I think you have to mark that green. There are reasons to take it, but there's some reasons to be concerned as well. Again, it's not a 100% sure thing. But prices work on up. There's no other entries in here. Then we're just kind of working sideways. We get a little failed breakout. You might consider going short there because we do get a close outside the new high, but a lot of times it'll run to 2 legs up. Plus, we haven't got back to the highs yet. But I still think you could at least mark that green. And same thing here. We got we got a quadruple test here, and we'd already broken out, so there's a good chance if we push up here, we're going to at least test that. So again, it's not perfect, but I think you can argue for that to be green, and it turns out to be, both of them turn out to be a decent move. But this one, you probably can get a runner on it, and runs on up to the highs. It breaks out and fails. No setup there to go short. But then you get this one is almost a repeat pattern of the other one coming down over here. Where was it? It was back over here. But you're kind of working sideways, and it breaks out and turns down. on the breakout. Again, I didn't put the. It's going to look something like that, and it breaks out and fails. I think you can go. It's also a second entry short by the counts, and that is 3 trending bars and then a pullback. So I think you can treat that as a second entry as well, right off the high of the previous resistance. And you're just playing the range on a lower high here from here as well. So we continue to kind of chop sideways to slightly down. I don't see any entries there I'd want to take until we hit the low, and then we work. There's 2 legs back. And this is a second entry short right here. Notice that new low, first entry, second entry. And you might say, okay, it looks a little sideways too. There's at least a 1, 2, 3 triple test as well. So several reasons to go short right there. Decent signal bar. Again, it doesn't go very far. We find the support here. There's another low here, but there's just not room there, and we hadn't pushed through yet, so you can't risk that one. I think that works, but you couldn't risk it. And you may trade this on a breakout. I'd want a higher low back inside the range to be sure, but you might take that one. And then your higher low comes here. You still got room to get out before getting back to the highs. We do have a break outside, and notice how it kind of pushes right off the support level and the trend line at the same time. The problem is it doesn't break above here, but I still think you could go ahead if it breaks higher there. This is a little late in the day. I probably shouldn't make that. I probably shouldn't have marked that, but I liked it in real time. Odds are you're going to at least go back to the highs here, even if you're going lower, and that's exactly what happened. It goes back to the highs, actually breaks out, and then turns lower. So this probably should be green. I'm going to change it. And it's just simply the only reason because it didn't break above until this inside bar. So you really need to use this as your signal bar, and you need to be a little more advanced taking along above that inside bar there. And that takes you into 230. So nothing else after that. So apologize for the disruptions today. I had several of them. You probably won't really notice them other than taking me a minute to get my bearings back of where we were at. But there it is. And just a mild sideways day. Nothing exciting. A lot of sideways mixed trading. It does look like we closed pretty much on the low today of the range. And looks like we may still be trying to work lower after the open here. So we'll see what tomorrow brings, but this is going to wrap it up for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.